Very cool. Michael Hsu, thank you for joining me. You are the founder of Measure and Hack, found at measurexhack.co. Thank you for joining me with Listening with Leaders.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm super excited about this.
Oh, thanks. So tell us, you come out of the financial background. Tell us about your background, and then we'll get into what Measure and Hack does and go from there.
Yeah. So I started out as I'm a trained accountant. And I also almost argue that I'm tricked into it, right? I was thinking that I can do accounting for a little bit and then I would get out to do real business because that's always what I wanted to do. But I ended up staying. And I ended up just becoming overly fascinated with systems and data and numbers and metrics. So Deep Sky was my original company and I ran that for 13 years. We still have it. And that's kind of an outsourced CFO management consultant for small businesses. And then Measure and Hack is my passion project that's kind of been around, but I just was able to really focus on it for the last, let's call it 2 years, and that's the future. That's what we were talking about earlier. Deep Sky is the past that brought me here. It's been great. Measure and Hack is the future. I can spend all day on it.
So tell us if you can, in summary, what is Measure and Hack?
So Measure and Hack is really a methodology that was born out of Deep Sky, right? With accounting background, accountants, we're really good at quantifying businesses, starting with financial metrics, operational metrics, sales, marketing, all that stuff. And then over time, I realized you can pretty much quantify everything in life.
Really?
And if you quantify everything in life, if you can, that whole saying, if you can measure it, you can manage it, right? And I will even go a step further. If you can manage it, you can optimize it. And I've since tried that out in all aspects of my life. And I have data going all the way back to 2013 on every single day of my life. So I'm just super excited about that. So finally, the last year or two, I've been putting together a lot of, learning material, a lot of, tools, a lot of ideas. I'm not 100% sure what's going to look like 30 years from now. But I hope it's going to be something big and ridiculous.
Well, what is it that you're obviously very excited about this project? What is it that gets you so excited about Measure and Hack?
It's that I mean, my personal story and just being around and seeing all the entrepreneurs around me. I know a lot of really successful entrepreneurs. Yet, it always seems like there's a choice. Like we're either choosing to be financially rich or we're choosing to be happy. Like you hear all these kind of saying like money is the root of all evil. You think like I'd rather be happy than rich, or oh, that guy is so rich, he must be miserable. And I'm always thinking like, why is it a choice? Why is it one or the other? Why can't I be happy and rich? And through my personal life experience, really quick, just back in 2013 through 15, I spent 2 years taking care of my ailing father who ended up passing away. And just watching him, I spent all my life trying to impress him, and then just watching him go through that. And I'm thinking, man, we work so hard to chase after, whatever it is, either financial, well-being, financial, richness, or whatever, only in the end to kind of regret. And one of the biggest regret, I don't know if you've seen the 12 regrets, one of it's not living up to your full potential. Right. And I struggle between the last generation, the last bit of Gen X and like millennial, right? Millennials got this whole YOLO, you only live once, let's just go out and party, forget about tomorrow. And then Gen X, we have that, you're working hard. And I find that balance to be hard. But I believe Measure and Hack is the one where you can be happy and be rich today and tomorrow. It's not just hey, you know what, forget everything, don't worry about the future, don't plan ahead and be quote unquote irresponsible. But also it's not like, hey, you know what, let me work 30 years to trade my entire life for retirement or whatever that means.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense either. I'm really resonating with you're saying, with what you're talking about, Michael. I left the practice of law in 2000, mid-career.
Yeah.
To pursue my own passion of peacemaking and helping people solve conflicts. And it was the best choice I ever made. And I think you're right. I think you can't, the only thing that stops you from being happy is yourself and your own mindset. And
Yes.
so you have to learn how to have a happiness mindset.
Yes.
And when you get that, then everything else falls into place.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I feel like it's finally something that I can, put together. I mean, I always had ideas around it, but finally I'm starting to put together this idea and be able to, preach the gospel or whatever, share it with other people. I definitely have not made it. Like if I have made it, I probably wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be talking.
What does it mean when you say you haven't made it?
I honestly don't know. I honestly don't think that day ever comes. I used to have a thing like, my father was a really successful entrepreneur and he retired at 46. Yeah. So it was always my dream to retire at 45, just be 1 year, beat him by 1 year. And then after just that whole ordeal back in 2013, 14, and just watching him pass away, like it doesn't really matter anymore. I don't think I will ever retire. I don't think I will ever make it.
Why would you want to retire? I mean, if you're doing what you love, like I'm 72 years old. I love what I do. Every single day I get up excited. I mean, I'm never going to quit what I do.
I love it. And I can feel it just talking. That's why I was so excited. I watch your video. I'm like, this guy's fucking awesome.
Now,
so it's that, like when I'm 72, I want to have the same passion and the same drive and keep doing the same thing. And that's why I'm so passionate about it.
right. Well, I mean, and unfortunately, I don't know how people get off that track. Well, I do, because for the first half of my career, I was a civil trial lawyer. It's a miserable job, very prestigious, but
Right.
hours, and for the amount of hours you're putting in, pay isn't all that great. I mean, it's good,
Right.
but still, lots of unhappiness. I don't think I agree with you. I don't think you have to give up on happiness to be financially successful and getting it made. I mean, I don't need any more awards. I don't need any more recognitions, right? I've gotten I've gotten all kinds of awards over my career for doing all kinds of stuff, and I don't need that stuff anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, somehow we were prescribed that, right?
Right.
I'll be happy when I get a job. I'll be happy when I marry the girl of my dream. I'll be happy when I get a promotion. And we're so caught up with being happy when that we forgot to be happy now.
Yes, exactly. And it's the happiness now is what makes the world so great, and you can do anything.
Yeah.
How does Measure and Hack help people, will help people eventually find happiness now?
I think everything, it sounds so cliche, but it does start with mindset.
It does.
It does start with realizing that, it's really funny in the Measure and Hack methodology. This is one piece that I always talk about. I go, when I was younger, I always thought financial freedom meant a number, 5 million, 10 million, some arbitrary number that someone has made up for me. And then I realized fairly young, I was lucky, I think it was 27 or 28, that financial freedom isn't a number. It was a mentality. It was the realization that money is one of 3 life resources: time, money, and energy.
Right.
And all of us got time. 1 in 400 trillion chance of being born. And everybody listening to this podcast already made it, right?
Right.
Energy, when we're younger, we have a lot more energy than when we're a little older. But then again, you can manage that if you're careful, if you take care of your body and all of that, so on and so forth. Money, sure, some of us have more money than others. But once you realize that, you take the power away, right?
Exactly. We live on 10 acres in one of the most beautiful places in California, just south of Yosemite National Park.
Oh, wow.
What else do you need?
Yeah.
I mean, really, and I get to go skiing. I went skiing on Saturday, and I get to go whitewater rafting when I want to. When the river's up this year, it's going to be kind of gnarly.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's great. I live 4 hours from LA, 3 hours from San Francisco. I mean, it's an amazing life, and I get to interview cool guys like you. I mean, a lot of fun.
So it certainly start. Go ahead.
People get so caught up in, I've got to have a career, or we have to make money.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you don't have to do it. You don't have to become a slave to it. What I finally learned was real happiness is based on service to others.
Yes.
Or I can serve other people in many different capacities, the happier I am.
The funny thing is, financial wealth is based off of service of other people.
That's right.
Yeah, I have, again, it's just one of the lines that we always say is, value creates profit, so create value. That's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And it's also interesting. I have a small team of people that are young people, brilliant young people that work for me, and I'm lucky enough to have them. And people always go like, "Wait, why are you so nice to them? And why do you pay them what you pay them?" And I said, "Look, if I make them millionaires, these guys are going to make me a billionaire. There's no question about that."
That's right.
So it definitely starts with mindset. But then again, it addresses other things, right? Because again, I'm born, not a born accountant, born entrepreneur, but trained as an accountant. So systems and data and rhythm and time and actual tactical stuff, it's very familiar with me, right? If I can run a business using systems and data and numbers, I can run my entire life off of it. Right. So you start with mindset, but then you move into, system and data. And again, why is it called measure and hack? Because I mean, human beings are like, we're super inefficient. Like we're emotional creatures. What makes us amazing? Make us not so amazing when it comes to work. That's why we focus on like hacks, and hacks, some have older times have, bad connotation to it. But for me, it's really like small incremental change.
It's nothing more than solving a problem.
Small incremental changes, right? Instead of this like overwhelming big thing that you want to go for small changes that yields big impact. Then you can go on to live.
That's right. That's right.
So that's the whole thing. Now our mission is clear and simple, right? I want people that buy into this system, buy into this methodology to achieve more, work less, so then they can go on and live life.
There you go.
That's the point, living life.
Right. And hopefully not become slave to the numbers. The numbers inform, but they don't enslave.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And in fact, another saying that I love is schedules create freedom, right? Systems create freedom. People think system box you up. But at the same time, people look at my, social media feed sometimes, they're like, do you ever work? Like, you're always traveling, you're always out having fun. And I say, if you look at my calendar, work is there. Every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it's always there because guess what? I got to work. I got to achieve. But I'm so careful with deploying my time and energy that when things are not scheduled at work, I can enjoy it. I can enjoy my time. I schedule my priorities.
There's another big bugaboo. There are a lot of people who feel guilty if they don't have their calendar filled. In other words, they've Thorsten Veblen idea of the Protestant ethic, where if you're not working, you're lazy, and so
it's silly. It's absolutely silly.
It's silly. If somebody blows me off in an interview or I have an hour, I'll go out and I'll go swim some laps.
Yeah.
Or I'll throw the frisbee for my little border collie. I'll do something fun and for an hour.
Here's the crazy part, right? We have 168 hours in a week. All right. We spend 40 of those hours. We spend 8 hours, right? 56 hours a week sleeping. That leaves 122 hours. And then we spend 40 hours, right, working. And then we have 72 hours for everything that we say matters, like our family, our hobbies, our self, our health. And then also with like eating and drinking and going to the bathroom, like the simple stuff. That's all you get, 72 hours. And why do you think like, no, there's 12 regrets, right? That article, 12 regret of people on their deathbed. There's never the guy that goes, oh man, I wish I worked harder. No, I wish I got that promotion. It doesn't make sense.
I know.
Spend more time with your family, spend more time with your loved one. We all heard this. We all know this. Yet humans are weird. It's almost like until we're there. And then we go, oh man, that was right. And like, why wait until that time?
Well, to your point, we're 98% emotional and only 2% rational. And we're emotional beings. And so we're driven by our emotions. And sometimes we're guilt tripped by our culture or by our families or by outside forces into doing things that really are not good for us. But we're told this is what we're supposed to do, that we're told that this is by whoever they are. And I don't know who the capital T, I have no idea who they are, but they say that, we have to do this stuff. And it takes a little bit of courage, I think, to say, no, BS to that. We don't need to be that way. And when you get out of that paradigm, everything shifts.
Absolutely. And it's crazy. Also, we have so much head trash, right? some people, I'm probably not the people listening to this podcast, but then if you just, walk into a park and start saying this, people say, oh, you can't say that because you already made it. Again, right? That made it, right? You already have money. You already live on 10 acres. Of course you can say that. I'll be able to say that when I live on 10 acres, right? Again, I'll be happy when.
Right.
But what they don't realize is that it's definitely a mentality thing, right? You first gain the financial literacy or the realization or the mindset, then you get to live the life. You don't get to live the life and then gain these minds.
Although I will say, I mean, there's a significant portion of our population that's been denied opportunity because of structural racism and oppression. And for those people, it's a little tougher. And I totally get that. And that's why we've got to be always thinking about that and thinking, how can we improve our systems and our cultural systems and our political system and our economic systems to reduce that pool of people who have been kind of left behind. And that's,
I 100% agree. But then again, there's problem in the world, right?
There's always going to be problems.
There's always going to be a problem. But at the same time, we're lucky to be, living in a time where information are shared so easily on the internet.
Amazing.
So yes, you're absolutely right. Like it's being able to obtain those information and then growing, and it's very interesting. Doug, like my family, not me. I'm lucky enough, but my mother's family, like we were extreme poverty. Let's call it 50 years ago back in Taiwan. Like extreme poverty in the way that my grandmother has 8 kids and widowed at 38, and back then you don't remarry. And my aunt was actually almost adopted by a Christian missionary, right? And then one of my uncle was almost sold off. But then again, it's just that it's really interesting that, and part of the reason why Measure and Hack is created, my mother, girls were not allowed to go to school, right? But she went to elementary school. And then when she was about to start working after elementary school, she was so good at school, the teacher and the principal came and then, begged my grandma to let her go to middle school. Again, in high school, right? And so she worked during the day, and then she worked during the day, carrying my youngest aunt, and then, she went to school at night, and then they had to share a pair of shoes because that's what it was. But the reason why she did that was because her teacher told her this and said, education is the way out of poverty. Knowledge is the way out of poverty, which is why today I run Measure and Hack. And you said, why am I so passionate? The way I see it is it's an education company. It helps you shape and change that mindset. And if I can just change one person's life, right? I mean, our goal is, our mission is to free 1 billion people to live life. Right. But if even just one person, it's worth it.
It's worth it. And that's exactly my attitude. If I can help one person become a little bit happier, if I can show one person how to stop fights and arguments in their lives forever and never have another fight or argument again, it's worth it. And then it just pays off exponentially, because obviously you help more than one person, as do I. I mean, I help tens of thousands of people, and it's amazing.
Absolutely.
I talk about throwing pebbles into the pond of peace, and I've got thousands of people every day throwing pebbles into the pond of peace, and these ripples are spreading out.
Yeah, because you help one person, and then they watch a podcast or they interview with you, and they pick this up. The thing about knowledge is it's that it keeps multiplying. It's not like you give me your knowledge, all of a sudden you lose it, right? Like you give it to me, and then now I'm giving it to other people.
We're talking the same. We're playing the same song, brother.
Absolutely.
Let's pivot. We got a few minutes left. Let's pivot to listening. This is called Listening with Leaders, and I named this podcast because I believe that listening is a kind of a foundational skill of leadership and of life. Tell me about listening in your life.
I think listening is everything, and I think it's a skill set that I continue to learn. I certainly have not mastered it, and it's just, I think everybody heard this from their parents. Is like, hey, you were given 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? Listen more, say less.
Right.
and so it's the same way. It's like, I run a business for 13 years, and doesn't matter if it's with my staff, right? Um, it's listening to them and hearing what's in it for them. Like these guys are giving up 40 hours of their lives each week, almost a third, right? Almost a third of their life each week, just to work on your dreams. What are their dreams? Being able to listen, being able to empathize with them, being able to relate to them, being able to lead them. It isn't always, there's always going to be some guy that's going to pay them more money, that's going to, have better benefits and cooler offices. There are always guys richer than you, but how do you bring a team together that are truly loyal and that are bought into your mission? I think it starts with, they already bought into your dreams. How are you listening to their dreams and aspirations? How are you listening to their struggles?
I love that. I call it listening others into existence. When you listen to somebody and you listen to them so deeply that they feel validated and heard, it creates instant loyalty and trust. And they'll follow you anywhere once you do that. But the secret, which you just revealed, is you've got to listen and care about who they are as human beings. And to your point, what are their dreams? What are their aspirations? What really motivates them? And the only way you get there is by listening to their words a little bit, but I teach people how to listen for meaning and emotions. And that's where the real information is.
Yeah. And it's so hard, right? Again, just like, where do we get these programming from that we're listening for answers or listening for, listening to talk, or I guess not listening, waiting for my turn to talk.
Right. That's turn taking. And a lot of this is cultural. A lot of it is, determined by the culture that we grow up in. And, our parents are probably not very good listeners, so they can't teach you how to really listen. They can, and of course, children are supposed to be seen and not heard. So children aren't getting listened to properly. So they don't learn how to listen properly, and they carry their programming into adulthood, and it just goes on for generation after generation after generation. And until you get something disruptive like what I teach, the cycle is not broken. But now I'm hoping that we can break that cycle.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely needed because, I feel like 90% of my life problems are people, right? And then people is just listening to them.
That's right, and you can solve 89% of those problems
by listening to them.
Just by listening to them. But you have to know what to listen for. That's the secret. And a lot of people think that they got to listen to the words. And what I teach, 3-step process: ignore the words, listen to the emotions, reflect back the emotions with a you statement, and ignore the words, especially when people are really upset. And that's very counterintuitive and counter-normative to what most people think is listening. But it's very, very, very powerful. Yeah. And that's the secret, is learning when to listen and how to listen from the speaker's frame of reference.
What's the reply with the you statement?
Oh, this is very interesting. You've probably taken active listening classes where you're taught something along the formula is something, what I hear you saying, or what I think you're feeling.
Oh, that's right. What I hear is,
stupid. Every time you talk about I, you're no longer speaking, you're no longer reflecting from the speaker's frame of reference. You're on your frame of reference. And if you want to do deep listening, you always must listen and reflect from the speaker's frame of reference. So you never use an I statement, and you never ask a question. Are you angry? Never ask that question. There's all kinds of brain science around this, and we don't have time to go into it in the show. But
this just shows how much more I have to learn, right? This just shows how important it is, because it's not. It's so funny. It's not easy.
It's really easy. It's so counterintuitive that you would never think of it.
Got it.
And you just would not think of this on your own, just brainstorming about thinking about listening. But it turns out there are neuroimaging studies that show what happens when you listen this way. And basically what happens is that, especially people are escalated, the emotional centers of the brain are deactivated. At the same time, the right ventrolateral prefrontal cortex is activated just by telling somebody what they're feeling.
It's
amazing science.
I'm gonna now you know why I was so excited. I read up on you and I was like, it's so cool.
Yeah,
This is the type of stuff that I love, right? Like you ask about like what measure and hack is, or just again, understanding us as a human,
that's right.
right? Understanding us as a human and then solving something that might be so hard or so difficult with something that, like you said, maybe, I don't know, for you it might seem easy, but maybe I will feel like it's easy later on. But right now I'm like,
it's not hard to learn the skill. What's hard is having the courage to exercise the skill.
exactly.
Because it takes a little bit of courage and faith in the beginning when you tell, because it's really weird to tell somebody what they're feeling in the beginning. But then once you get it, then you say, "Oh my God, how come I didn't have I needed this in my life? You know, how can I not do this because it's so powerful?" So we got a few minutes left. Where's Michael going in life? Where's he going to end up in 10 years?
You know, I really want, in 10 years, same thing in 20 and 30 years, however long I live, I'm peddling the whole measure and hack methodology, right? The idea of measure and hacking is a continual improvement. The reason why I call it methodology is what's methodology? It's a study of, right? And I said it's a study of a method to optimize the human experience, right? So talking to people like you and just learning about that's part of the measure and hack methodology. That's the whole idea. And I just want to continue to learn. I really want it to be, I don't know everything. Nobody knows, but I definitely not me. If anybody knows everything, it ain't me. but I feel pretty good about the framework, the idea, and the pursuit of this optimizing human experience using systems and data, and I want to be able to create this platform where everybody comes and then sort of have a common language, but be able to build on top of it, right? How do we measure and hack relationship? How do we measure and hack listening? How do we measure and hack personal fitness? And so on and so forth. Sure, it started with business and money and all of that. And I'm going to keep on having that conversation. But then again, the human experience it's holistic. It's not one-sided. It's not one dimension. But if I can have this platform and I have enough people who understand the platform, it's almost like the USB, right? The USB is just a platform. It's a unified way for us to connect and communicate. If we can have that, you know, I'm just like excited to see it come together, right? Like imagine you can have, you know, let's call it just having a community of people who is in that pursuit of, you know, living life, right? Being able to achieve more, work less, live life, and feeling free, feeling fulfilled, and stop having those regret, like, man, I wish I lived to my fullest potential. Man, I wish, you know, I didn't work so hard. Man, I wish I spent more time with my mother or father or child as they were growing up. Less regret and more enjoyment, more happiness in life.
Constant incremental improvement.
You say it better than me. I love it.
Constant incremental improvement. And what I've learned over the years is when you can engage in constant incremental improvement, when you look back, your jaw drops at how much you've accomplished. I mean, when I start talking about my accomplishments and what I've learned and been able to master, people shake their heads and say, how do you do all that?
One step at a time.
Incremental improvement.
Yeah, one step at a time. It's
step at a time.
It's crazy. I always say this. I say there's no overnight success because success happened overnights, right? And it's just and every
20-year overnight success, maybe
20 years, right? Overnights, right? With an S, right? and if you look at it incrementally, you don't feel it.
That's right.
You don't feel it. Just like you know, you have a candle. I forgot who said this, but if you have a candle and you run your hand through it, it's not going to burn you because it was so instant. But if you hold it there,
you're going to burn.
You're going to burn. Success and failure, same thing. Right. Day one, nothing. Day two, nothing. Right. Day 300, and you look back and you go, wow. Exactly. Day 3,000, you're like, pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right, one more question. This is about you personally. What's one thing about you that we would not know unless you revealed it to us?
And I feel like I'm an open book. I just jump out at this. What is one thing that you would not know?
We wouldn't know about you unless you revealed it to us.
Is there a direction to that, or
Well,
is it?
anything, just whatever, some little unique thing about yourself that maybe a hobby you have or an interest you have or something happened to you growing up that we wouldn't know unless you told us about it.
I mean, I would have. I mean, I think I opened with this one, which is I have data on every single day of my life going back 10 years.
Oh, there you go. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean that's
I wouldn't know.
that's
So
the
you
key.
are a data geek.
I am a super data geek, and I started out with just wanting to know, if I got sick or not, and how happy I was, and it just turned into this ridiculous thing. And now I track my day by every 30-minute increment.
Wow.
And people think it's crazy, but it freed me because I never again, ever since I started doing this, I never again have to say, I don't understand why I'm not successful. I don't understand why I didn't get X. I don't understand why I didn't get Y. I go back to look at the time, I knew exactly why.
And then you can use, to your point, measure and hack.
Yeah, and then I can think, and then again, you take the freedom away from it, that banging your head against the wall. You're like, I've been working so hard, I'm so exhausted. Why aren't I X? Right? If you have data, you look at it, you're like,
okay, there it is.
Here it is. Here's why. And then it takes that power away. And then now you're like, cool. What am I going to do about it? You can always choose to do nothing.
That's right.
But then you can always choose to do something. And that is extremely, extremely empowering, I think.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Michael Hsu. It's been a great conversation.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's one of the best podcasts I've ever been on.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.